Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. Connor's life had been a series of get-rich-quick schemes, each one unraveling as quickly as it began. At 22, he was charming, always quick with a smile, and skilled at weaving stories to fit whatever situation he found himself in. People liked Connor. He had a way of making them feel special, even as he calculated how to use them for his own gain. But nothing had gone according to plan. Each gamble, each shortcut, each carefully crafted lie only left him deeper in debt and further from success. When he met Elizabeth, he saw an opportunity. She was at least 40 years older than him and wealthy in a way he had only dreamed of. Their meeting felt almost like destiny, but Connor quickly dismissed any romantic notions. Destiny, fate, love, these were for dreamers, not for someone like him. His goal was simple: survival. And if Elizabeth could be his ticket to a life of ease and financial freedom, so be it. Elizabeth wasn't just wealthy, she was powerful. Even in her later years, she carried herself with a grace and sharp intelligence that was intimidating. She owned a real estate firm that had helped build half the city, and her name commanded respect in every social and professional circle. There was an air of mystery about her. She never spoke about her late husband or family, only offering glimpses of her life that she seemed to curate carefully. Connor quickly learned not to ask too many questions, a lesson he found surprisingly easy to accept. Eager to keep her intrigued, their relationship began with quiet dinners, late-night conversations, and simple companionship. At first, Connor played the role of a caring, doting younger man, fascinated by her stories of success and captivated by her worldview. He asked her about her favorite memories, the books she loved, the cities she had visited. He knew how to make her feel as if he were genuinely interested, and with every laugh or touch of her hand on his, he congratulated himself, convinced that he was winning her over. But Elizabeth was no fool. She had seen that same hungry look in the eyes of many who had come and gone, people wanting a piece of her fortune or a place in her circle. She knew exactly what he was after, and rather than retreat from his transparent charm, she let him think he had her. She played along, feeding his need for validation while studying him with an insight he failed to recognize. Months passed, and Connor felt he was close to securing his future. Elizabeth had casually mentioned her wealth, her investments, her estate, and her holdings. She spoke about her well now and then, always in passing, with a glint in her eye that Connor took as a sign of trust. Whenever she mentioned having no living relatives, he made sure to appear sympathetic, wondering if this meant he could somehow take their place, perhaps even inherit her wealth. One evening, they were sitting on the balcony of her penthouse, overlooking the city, glasses of wine in hand. Elizabeth, bathed in the soft glow of city lights, looked at him with a mixture of affection and knowing. "Tell me, Connor," she said, her voice calm and measured. "What do you think about legacy?" Connor raised his eyebrows, his mind racing for the right answer. "I think legacy is, well, it's everything. It's what we leave behind, how people remember us." "Interesting," she replied, never breaking eye contact. "And what do you want to be remembered for?" The question caught him off guard, and he hesitated for just a moment too long. He quickly composed himself, forcing a reflective tone. "I want to be remembered as someone who made a difference, someone who left something meaningful behind." Elizabeth studied him for a moment, and Connor felt a flicker of doubt. He wasn't sure if she believed him, but before he could second-guess himself, she gave him a small smile and turned back to the view. That night, Connor lay awake, his mind restless. The way she looked at him made him uneasy, as if she could see straight through him, past the charm and the facade. But he reassured himself that she was growing attached, that this was her way of preparing him to become a permanent part of her life. As the weeks passed, their relationship deepened. They became inseparable, a fixture in each other's lives. Connor began to feel that he had won. Elizabeth seemed almost vulnerable around him now, laughing freely and revealing glimpses of her younger self, the ambitious woman she had once been, full of dreams tempered by the realities of life. Yet, there were moments. At times, Connor's resolve would falter, especially in the quiet moments between him and Elizabeth. He'd catch himself watching her from across the room, how she would hum softly while preparing their coffee, or the tenderness in her eyes as she recounted stories of her travels. These were the moments that make him question his own motives, wondering if he could care for her beyond the wealth and the promises of an easier life. But he quickly pushed those feelings aside, reminding himself that they were nothing more than distractions from his ultimate goal. The night before Elizabeth's passing, she invited Connor to dinner at her estate. It was an evening much like the others they had shared, filled with laughter, good wine, and easy conversation, but there was an unspoken tension in the air, a heaviness to her words that Connor couldn't quite pinpoint. She looked at him across the table with a piercing intensity, one that made him feel exposed, as though she could see right through him. As they said their goodnights, Elizabeth reached out, placing her hand gently on his. "I hope you remember, Connor," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "that true legacy is something earned, not taken." Connor felt a shiver run down his spine, unsure whether he fully understood the weight of her words. The following day, Elizabeth passed away suddenly, leaving Connor in a state of shock. For a fleeting moment, he felt a pain of loss that took him by surprise, but it was quickly overshadowed by the anticipation of what he believed would be his reward. When he received the notice of her will reading, his excitement was nearly palpable. He dressed in his finest suit, practicing an expression of dignified sorrow, preparing to face Elizabeth's lawyer, certain that soon he would inherit everything she had left behind. Sitting in the lawyer's office, his heart raced with expectation. He glanced at the envelope the lawyer handed him. Instead of a formal will, there was only a single elegantly written letter with his name on it. His hands trembled as he opened it, unfolding the paper carefully. Connor's hands shook as he read the letter, feeling a strange mix of anticipation and unease. The envelope had seemed heavier than it should have, as though it held not just paper, but a truth he wasn't ready to confront. The handwriting was delicate and graceful, a script that seemed to reflect Elizabeth's refined nature. The letter began simply, "Dear Connor, if you're reading this, it means I am gone, and you are likely sitting there wondering where I have left you. I imagine you're expecting something grand, perhaps the estate, the bank accounts, or even the company shares I spoke about over wine so many times. But let me assure you, what I am about to leave you is something far more valuable, if you're willing to see it as such." Connor's mouth went dry. Far more valuable asterisk, his mind raced with possibilities, perhaps a hidden asset or a rare possession he hadn't known about. He read on, holding his breath. "Connor, I'm going to tell you a story. It's not a long one, but I hope you'll read it with an open heart. When I was a young woman, just about your age, I fell deeply in love with a man named Henry. He was my everything, and for years I believed I was his. But life has a way of revealing the truth, and I came to find that he was with me for reasons other than love. You see, Henry saw my potential, my drive, and my early successes in real estate. He knew I would be successful, and he saw that as his ticket to an easier life. I was devastated when I learned the truth, heartbroken in a way that I never thought I could recover from. But life moved on, and so did I. I promised myself that I would never again allow anyone into my life who could truly love me for who I am." Connor shifted uncomfortably in his chair, the weight of her words pressing down on him. They cut not with visible wounds, but with a sharpness that stung all the same. "You remind me of Henry, Connor," she began again, her voice steady. "But you should know, I recognized it from the start. I saw the hunger in your eyes, the ambition that drove you, and yes, even the charm you wielded to try and win me over. It would have been so easy to cast you aside, to dismiss you as just another charming young man looking for a shortcut to wealth. But I didn't. Do you know why?" Connor swallowed hard, his fingers gripping the paper tightly. His knuckles whitened as her words struck like daggers, each one sharper than the last. "I kept you in my life because I saw something deeper in you, Connor," she continued. "Beyond the layers of charm and pretense, I glimpsed someone with potential to be better, to be kinder, to be real. You might have thought I was blind to your intentions, but I am not easily deceived. Instead, I chose to give you a chance, to prove me wrong." The air in the room grew thick, stifling. Connor loosened his collar, the letter in his hands seeming to grow heavier, its weight pressing into his skin, as if leaving an invisible mark he could not erase. But as time went on, the letter read, "I saw that you remained the same, driven by the same motives, offering the same hollow promises. And it saddened me, Connor. I wanted to see you grow, to change, to become the man I believe you could be. In many ways, you became a reflection of my own past, a reminder of what I had endured, but also proof of the strength I gained from it. In your own way, you showed me that I had moved beyond it." Connor's hands trembled as he set the letter down, his breath unsteady. The words blurred before his eyes, forcing him to close them. He wrestled with the shame building in his chest, fighting the disbelief that this was real. Part of him hoped this was a cruel joke, that she was still alive, hidden behind this letter. That her signature on the page would be accompanied by the fortune he expected. But he knew better. Elizabeth had always been deliberate. Everything she did served a purpose. With his heart pounding, Connor picked up the letter once more and read on. "And so, I leave you this letter, Connor, my final gift. It is a reflection of who you have been and a reminder of who you still have the power to become. I know it is not the inheritance you hoped for, but believe me when I say it is far more valuable than any wealth. True riches, true legacy, are not measured in possessions or bank accounts. They are found in the character you build and the lives you touch." Connor's throat tightened. He tried to swallow, but her words seemed to surround him, trapping him in a silence he could not escape. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen, his flaws, his selfishness, every carefully concealed thought laid bare. "I leave you nothing, Connor, nothing but the knowledge that I saw through you from the beginning. I loved you as best as I could, hoping my love might guide you to a better path. But now that I am gone, the choice is yours. Will you continue down the path you've always known, or will you find the courage to become someone better? Remember, Connor, true legacy is something earned, not taken." As Connor read the final line, an aching emptiness settled deep within his chest. Elizabeth had left him no wealth, no possessions, only a challenge. A challenge to confront the truth of who he had become and ask himself if this was the life he truly wanted to lead. He sat motionless for a long time, the letter trembling in his hands. The world around him seemed to grow still, stripped of the comforting illusions he had clung to for so long. For the first time, Connor felt completely alone, not just in the physical sense, but alone with the weight of his own conscience. Memories of Elizabeth flooded his mind. The warmth of her laughter, the sparkle in her eyes when she recounted stories of her past. He had been so consumed by his own ambitions that he had never truly seen her. He hadn't valued her for the remarkable person she was. All he had seen was her wealth, her influence, her power, tools to be manipulated for his own gain. The realization hit him with the force of a cold, unrelenting wave. He had never truly known Elizabeth, and now it was too late. Connor sat in stunned silence, his grip on the letter tightening. It felt as though the walls around him had faded away, leaving only him and Elizabeth's final words echoing in his mind. The knowledge that she had seen through him from the very beginning, that every calculated word, every insincere smile had been met with her quiet understanding, pressed down on him like a crushing weight. He felt hollow, as though the person he had spent his life crafting was unraveling, leaving him exposed and raw. What Elizabeth had left him was not wealth, but a truth he could no longer escape. He had spent years chasing illusions, substituting charm for sincerity, and building a life on lies. Now he was left alone to face the consequences of his choices. In the days that followed, Connor drifted aimlessly through his empty apartment. Every time his reflection caught his eye, he saw a stranger staring back at him. Elizabeth's words lingered, haunting him in every quiet moment. Will you continue down the path you've always known, or will you find the courage to become someone better? The question gnawed at him, and though he resisted, he knew the answer lay somewhere deep within. The truth was, he didn't know who he was without the schemes, without the carefully constructed facade. The thought of starting over, of living a life without deceit, felt utterly foreign. Yet, despite his doubts, Elizabeth had seen something in him, something he had never seen in himself. She had left him with a choice, a gift far deeper and more meaningful than any inheritance he had once imagined. Deep down, Connor knew that ignoring it would not only betray her memory, but also the glimmer of hope she had carried for him. After a week of isolating himself from the world, Connor made a decision. He would honor Elizabeth's legacy by embracing the promise she had seen in him. This time, he would build a life that wasn't about self-interest or personal gain. He started small. Enrolling in night classes at a local college, he began to develop skills he had previously ignored. He volunteered at a community center, working with at-risk youth, kids who reminded him painfully of his younger self, driven by misguided ambition and a belief they could charm or manipulate their way out of anything. For the first time, Connor spoke with honesty, sharing pieces of his own flawed story. He'd hoped that by exposing his mistakes, he might guide others to avoid repeating them. Gradually, his life transformed. The adrenaline rush of manipulation and deceit faded, replaced by a quiet, fulfilling sense of purpose. He found satisfaction in helping others and striving for something greater than himself. Surrounding himself with people who valued integrity, he began to learn from them, leaning into honesty and allowing himself to grow. As Connor embraced his new path, he often felt Elizabeth's presence, her voice in the back of his mind, steady and unwavering, pushing him forward during moments of doubt. Years passed, and Connor's life evolved into something unrecognizable from what he had once envisioned. He became a counselor, using his own struggles to guide others who had lost their way. His story became a beacon of hope, proving that even the most flawed paths could lead to redemption. One day, while sifting through old belongings, Connor came across Elizabeth's letter. He hadn't opened it in years. As he unfolded the delicate paper, its familiar words struck him anew, filling him with clarity and emotion. Tears welled in his eyes as he grasped how deeply her final gift had shaped his life. True legacy is something earned, not taken. Now he understood. Elizabeth had given him something far more valuable than money. She had offered him the opportunity to become the man he was meant to be. Standing in his small office, surrounded by tokens of gratitude from those he had helped, Connor felt a profound sense of peace. He knew Elizabeth would have been proud. He had chosen to honor her memory by building a legacy rooted in honesty, kindness, and growth, the very legacy she had always believed he was capable of creating. For the first time in his life, Connor felt truly wealthy, not in possessions, but in purpose, in love, and in the knowledge that he had finally become the person Elizabeth had always seen in him. In that moment, he realized he had found what he had been searching for all along himself. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below.